And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Probably not. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FT off. Say again, FT off. It's orange!
Orange 45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane to be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Okay. Okay. All right. We good to go, Patrick? All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NASA Spaceflight Virgin Galactic 01 mission coverage here. Hopefully, the audio is a little bit better now. If you don't know me, I am EJ. I stream over on Twitch. I play a lot of Kerbal Space Program over there, but I am today's host for the day. Joining me on comms is, we'll just go right down the list. We got a bunch of really talented folks in here. Let's see. So, who do we have? We have Adrian up at the top of the ComNet here. Adrian, can you hear us?
I hear you just fine, and I'm very much looking forward to this. It's quite a different thing to what we usually cover. So I always love these special kind of streams.
Yeah, should be fun. Joining us out in the field there is Das. Das, can you hear us? He's out in the field with Jack, and we'll get to Jack in a moment here, but I'm wondering if he's on comms right now. He might be off, and if he is, we'll just introduce him a little bit later. Well, there he is.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. EJ. I am super busy, and I'm sitting next to a generator right now, but y'all got me 5x5?
Yeah, can hear you just fine. Sweet.
Roughly?
Also, yeah.
Nice.
Sounds good to me.
Jack and I are actually out here. EJ,
Yep.
y'all go ahead and roll with it.
Yeah, you guys are out in the field. And then we have the ever-popular Jack Byer. Jack, where are you out there today? Das is out in the field, and Das, probably you should say where you are, too. Like, can you give a specific area to, like, where your location is, you and Jack? Like, where's our coverage coming from today?
Yeah, so normally we sort of did a guerrilla kind of thing out here, for lack of a better term, and we just set up where we were able to. Right off the bat, shout out to Virgin Galactic today for allowing us on the premises and allowing us to set up and being very kind to us, giving us a sweet tour yesterday. So yeah, we are on site. Das is currently right next to the Spaceport America hangar, like you said, next to a generator. And I was at the hangar. I am actually now at my vehicle in the parking lot, ready to scoot. Once the thing takes off, I'm going to do the traditional Jack Byer Virgin Galactic stream thing and haul butt to a place where hopefully we will see the drop from better. But yeah, this is nice. It's been me doing these for however many times now, 5 or 6 times. And it's really cool to have Das out here. He brought a robot tracker. He's got all his gizmos and gadgets and is making cool things happen as Das does. So this should be a really cool one, with the one small caveat that this is the cloudiest I've ever seen it out here. Now, clouds are not a constraint for drop and boost. So the vehicle Unity can drop and boost up through a cloud layer, that is not a constraint. That is totally acceptable in terms of parameters. Sorry. However, there is a cloud constraint for landing. I'm not exactly positive what the exact constraints there are. I think it's not. I don't think it's violated right now, but we haven't heard one way or the other from Virgin. So I want to be clear that that's not official information. I just want to be upfront with everybody watching the stream. Hey guys, it's cloudy today, and I rented doublers for both of my lenses. So if we get a shot of it, it should be nice and tight, and 1,000 millimeters, 1,200 millimeters, should be sweet. We just all have to pray to the cloud gods. Anyways, that's my monologue. Thank you everybody for tuning in this morning. It's a really special day. We all want to see Virgin Galactic start up their commercial spaceport services, and this is a big day. This is a good day. Just pray the clouds away. All right, back to you.
That was a heck of an intro, man.
EJ, you got me now? I've swapped over to a different connection.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, but I still have another person to introduce here.
We'll introduce another person, and then I'll show the clouds.
Yeah, there you go. We have the man, the myth, the legend, bringing up the rear, Mr. NASA Man himself, Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, how are you doing this morning? Sawyer? No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just keeping it short here for after Jack's amazing one intro there.
Good.
So hi, excited to be here and looking forward to hopefully seeing a drop and a firing and a landing.
Excellent. So, Adrian, are you here?
I am.
Okay, so how many people we got flying on this vehicle today?
And overall, it will be 6 people on this plane. Of course, the commander and pilot from Virgin that will be there from their side. And then we have mostly from the National Research Council of Italy and the Italian Air Force, the customers on board to conduct the today's experiments, which is the main purpose of this commercial mission, the Galactic 01 mission. So overall, we'll have 6 people on board here, of which 3 are Italian.
Right, and that last 6th person, by the way, is one of the astronaut instructors who previously flew on that first mission with Richard Branson.
That's all right. That's cool. Hey, Sawyer, do you think you could tell us a little bit more about the crew here? Who do we have flying today?
Sure. At the helm today will be Commander Mike Masucci and pilot Nicola Pecile. I believe I'm pronouncing those right, hopefully. Pecile, thank you. Both of them with plenty of experience flying aircraft. Mike having flown in the U-2s, F-16s, T-38s, and Nicola flying Tornado, FMK-3 Advanced, and H-500E. Basically, they all have between 7,000 and 10,000 hours of flying experience. This will be Mike's 4th time flying into space, and this will be Nicola's 1st.
Okay, so those are our 2 pilots. Let's see. And you said Colin Bennett is up there, Virgin Galactic astronaut number 3, who flew on that first flight, if I'm remembering right.
You are correct.
Yep, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, he's the lead astronaut instructor, so he's the one who's been doing all of the training and preparation for this mission, and so he'll be able to fly with the crew, with the goal being to assess the research flight experience during the mission, since this is essentially the first paying customer mission here.
So he is quite literally a spaceflight UX designer.
Pretty much.
It's something that they talked about yesterday during the tour they gave us. Is they actually have made some changes since their first couple crewed flights in the actual flight profile, in order to better facilitate, being in the cabin, because the CG of the vehicle is behind you, and the vehicle moves. The phrase they used, maybe Das remembers it better. It was like the vehicle moves about you. So we didn't get specifics on what those changes they made were, but I imagine, maybe it's like a slightly slower inversion as they get done with burn. but in order to make the vehicle not move about you quite as rapidly. But as they start to fly more and more of these with paying customers, they'll of course learn a whole bunch and adapt their flight procedures and everything, and just refine the whole process.
Yeah, Jack, that was the phrase that they used, that the vehicle moves about you. In EJ, I bet you if I give you this, you can wax all about how this works. The center of gravity of the vehicle is actually behind the crew area. It's back in the engine area, whether the engine's full or not, right? But when the aircraft, or when the spacecraft actually is doing maneuvers, it rotates about its center of gravity. And the center of gravity being outside of the crew cabin means that you can perceive the vehicle actually changing attitude while it flips over, right? So that's what we were talking about yesterday. EJ, I'll let you go with it. I know I'm sitting next to a generator. I hope it's not too loud over here.
Dude, your audio, I mean, it's about as good as it's going to get for being out in the middle of the desert, dude. I think you're actually pretty good.
Good deal. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So you were talking about how we have a passive movement on the center of gravity on the spaceship. That basically and the cut down nozzle on the end of SpaceShipTwo. If you notice, SpaceShipTwo has a kind of a weird oblong nozzle. That oblong nozzle that's kind of cut asymmetrically, combined with that moving center of mass, will create a pitch up moment when the ship drops and the rocket engine ignites, and that gets you basically to fly up on a nice arc, and then when the motor flames out, it's basically ballistic when you're up all the way up to apogee, and then they feather it and bring it back down like a regular airplane, which is pretty awesome stuff, actually. And if you're a car fan like me, the solid rocket booster in the back of the spaceship is actually nitrous injected. It's a hybrid solid rocket, which is actually really, really cool. Yes, nitrous injected, like the go fast button. And this spacecraft is going to go fast. So, Sawyer, we introduced Colin Bennett. Do you think we could get to the other 3 commercial crew members that are on board here?
Absolutely, we can. So let's start, I guess, with astronaut 008, and that's Colonel Walter Villadei. Member of the Italian Air Force, as is the case with most of the people on board. He will kind of be the commander of this flight. He started training at NASA through Axiom Space and was the backup pilot for Axiom 2, actually, and we might see him on future Axiom flights. He is the Virtue 1 mission commander. So that means that there's a whole bunch of payloads that are mounted on racks inside the vehicle that he will be tending to, and will also be testing out this cool state-of-the-art smart suit that will measure his biometric data and how his body responds to spaceflight. So he's basically the head of all the research execution on this flight. We'll go with astronaut 009, and that is Lieutenant Colonel Angelo Landolfi, who, not only being with the Italian Air Force, is also a physician. So he has his PhD in legal medicine and forensic science. He was trained as a crew surgeon as part of the cosmonaut training program over in Russia, and is a trained flight test surgeon. He's also an aeromedical examiner with the EASA, and his goal on this mission as part of Galactic 1 is to measure cognitive performance, so how the brain does in microgravity, and investigate how certain liquids and solids mix together. Then we have Pantaleone Carlucci, who is an engineer with the National Research Council of Italy and is designated astronaut 010. So he's a technical engineer and a pilot who's been working with that National Research Council for more than 8 years, studying engineering of scientific instruments on aircraft, and with a focus on implementation of payloads, which is kind of important here with the payloads on board this mission. So he's in charge of the technical coordination, of strategic projects on stratospheric platforms. So basically dealing with these kind of drop tests. On this particular mission, he will be conducting tests that involve wearing multiple sensors to examine heart rate, brain function, and other human performance metrics during their time in microgravity and during the rest of the spaceflight.
Man, that sounds like a really talented crew. Well, Chad, I'll let you guys know that I made my bed today, so, these guys better guys better watch out, you know.
That's more than I've done, so I'm impressed.
All right. So, okay, we've discussed the crew on board. Adrian, we have a center shot of the two vehicles there. Can you tell us a little more about these vehicles? What does this thing do? Like, I talked a little bit about the rocket, but what type of launch vehicle are we looking at here? I mean, now, obviously it's not a rocket, right? Like,
I mean, that's a philosophical question where we could
oh
get
no,
into.
I done did it.
If it's a rocket, but in the end, it's a suborbital rocket powered space plane in the middle. What you can see here. So what will happen is the airplane part of the vehicle will cruise up to I think it's 45,000 if I have it correctly in my head.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, and just as they get there and they will start to accelerate, they will basically take over some of the acceleration and the altitude that you normally would have on a rocket motor. And once they are at altitude and at speed, they will drop the spaceship part, the VSS Unity, and that will ignite its motor and basically take the space part of the vehicle to space, then to 80 kilometers or 85-ish around there. So that's the plan, what they will do. And once that is happened, the airplane part and the space plane part will land individually and conduct their mission. It's basically a way to reduce the power you would normally put on a rocket motor and put that on a plane. So it takes over. Okay.
I'm just going to keep butting in with fun facts because we learned so much on the tour yesterday.
Oh, by the way, sorry, I have to interrupt. We have a moving plane.
Excellent.
Oh, there we go. There we go. And fellas, if you and everybody in chat, if you guys want to ask questions, ask us. We're looking at the chat. We can see you. Also, put it into the question queue. We will try to handle those questions as best as we can, but we do have a moving aircraft there. Now, it looks like we got a taxi going here. It's on the taxiway out at Spaceport America, right?
Yep. Really quickly, the thing I was going to say is that I don't even remember what I was going to say, but plane's moving. Yay.
There we go.
You said you had a fun fact. I'm not having fun, Jack.
What were we talking about? Remind me.
We were talking about the general flight profile, Jack, and how this whole system works with the igniting the rocket motor and separating and landing individually.
All right. The fun fact is, once the drop occurs, the runway here at Spaceport America, since there's only the one, is reserved for Unity once that drop happens. So if there's any problems with the mothership Eve, then at that point, Eve will divert to a different airport, which is kind of interesting. But just goes to show that they plan for every little thing.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know.
It looks like the carrier ship has gone past the hold short point on the runway. If you guys look at the shot that we have, it was just went away. The 1634 and the yellow dotted and solid line that was there is a hold short point for the runway. That's usually where a plane holds until they have permission from the tower to get onto the runway. But they clearly have permission because they went right past that thing. They blew right by it.
Yep, that would be an interesting, like a 5-minute wait for taxiing and like, sorry, we have an incoming aircraft here. It would be an interesting scenario.
Yeah, and a reminder, we have the mothership, which is VSS Eve, and then underneath in the middle is the spaceship part, which is VSS Unity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the center kind of winged vehicle there. You can just see it right up the center. You can see the rocket nozzle actually kind of poking out the back there.
Exactly, and there are two very experienced pilots as well that will be aboard VSS Eve. It's going to be Kelly Latimer will be the commander, and Jamil Janjwa will be the pilot.
All right, and going back to what Jack was saying, the runway 16 or runway 34 becomes a runway that's reserved for the SpaceShipTwo. So Jack, why would it be just reserved for that type of spacecraft? And why wouldn't you want to land the carrier ship back there?
Oh, EJ, if you know our streams well. The reason is because guess what I get to say? Unity is much like the space shuttle. It only has the rocket. it only has its boost phase of flight. After that point, it's basically a glider. Now, it's a much better glider than the shuttle, which was famously essentially a flying brick house, if you want to even call it flying. I love the shuttle, don't get me wrong. I love all space planes. In fact, that's why we're so excited today, because I think we can all here at NSF agree that space planes are the best planes, much like hexagons are the bestagons. But I digress. Because it's a glider, that's why they reserve the runway for Unity.
There you go. Yeah, the carrier ship can loiter around because it has just regular jet engines. That ship in the center goes a little bit faster.
Yeah, in fact, typically they will have extra gas on Eve, the mothership, and Unity lands first because, of course, it's a glider, and Eve is basically also a glider, but it has 4 turbojets on it. So it takes a while to come down. It's a lot like a U-2 in the sense that if you ever heard a U-2 pilot talk about, like, the plane really doesn't want to land. You kind of have to force it to at a certain point. But we've seen in all of our streams of these various flights, what they'll typically do with Eve is they'll come in and do several touch and goes. And I think they're simulated spacecraft approaches because the cockpit is another fun fact. The cockpit of the mothership and of the spaceship Unity are essentially similar or the same layout. So you can get practice time on the mothership for the for Unity. So they'll do several touch and goes, basically fly till they're pretty low or out of gas, and then obviously not like out, and then then Eve will land. So once Unity is down, it's like the mothership still has a full several hours ahead of it, or at least hour, or maybe 30 minutes. I'm not quite sure the duration, but it takes them a while to get down. TLDR.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, sorry if I'm talking too fast. I'm a little bit caffeinated. I don't know if you can tell.
Dude, there is nothing wrong with that. That is totally okay. Yeah, guys, remember, Jack is out in the middle of nowhere. So if the audio gets a little splotchy, it's not because of Jack's mic. It's mostly the internet connection.
By the way, you're getting a little behind the scenes here from one of our tracking cameras, and I guess it'll be our chase camera looking at what appears to be one of the chase planes that will be flying alongside, because they do fly chase planes alongside the VSS Unity.
And
is it working right now?
Yeah,
it looks good to me.
Did y'all see the computer vision automatically identifying the plane on the runway and keeping the camera on it?
Yes, we do.
I've got it set up so I can actually pipe either one of those to y'all. So it'll either show you the feed where it's showing you the AutoTrack UI, or I can pipe you the clean feed of the same thing. And it's the same exact camera, it just doesn't have the overlay on it. And then I also have the long lens, the 3000 millimeter lens that is the super zoom sort of setup. And each one of those, I can pipe those to you separately, and you can see what I'm seeing at the AutoTrack control console here. Anyway, sorry.
I'm DOS.
Whatever.
I have 3,000 millimeters. I have 1,500 plus millimeters more than Jack. Yeah, well, my sensor's better.
Everything's working, and I'm very happy that everything's working right now. So I'm just going to knock on my head and hope it keeps working.
Yeah, you had quite a lot to get set up this morning, so I'm glad we were able to get everything working. And seriously, once again, thank you so much to Virgin Galactic for being just extra turbo accommodating to us today and yesterday, getting us power, getting us Ethernet, doing all the things. So thank you to Virgin for the access today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jack, did you tell them all about the simulator and stuff you went through?
I think he did. Yeah, he was talking about.
Here we go.
He's talking about.
I think we have
movement. All right.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm
very.
Now you can
watching
see it
eagle-eyed now.
There
yeah. So, White Knight 2 has been given permission from the tower at Spaceport America to take off here. All right.
So it will start off climbing up to, say, a normal altitude for airplanes like 30,000, 40,000 feet, before eventually pushing up to 50,000 plus feet for the drop.
Which is
That's crazy.
Like such a cool technology. I know you can always have the debate, like, is this like, what? It's so cool.
Oh, look at these shots, man.
There it
I'm
goes.
sorry, I'm not
There's the
talking
takeoff.
because I just want to look at this. This is great. And there's the chase plane right there. Fly, baby, fly.
And I
Wow.
believe, yeah,
That's
look at
awesome.
that view. If I'm not mistaken, that's our cameras.
Yeah,
That looks so nice.
that's a nice climb, man. You're really going up there.
That one's a Virgin shot, but we do have our cameras down there tracking this whole thing too. It's gorgeous.
Let's just
All right,
hope
I gotta
now the
scoot.
clouds cooperate.
I'll talk to you guys in about 20 minutes.
All right,
Goodbye,
Jack.
Good.
Godspeed, sir.
So Jack is now going to move to try and chase the vehicle so that we'll have views of the drop and engine ignition as well.
That thing. So, the mothership, White Knight 2, the 4 engines that are on the outside that kind of look like regular, kind of garden variety airplane bypass turbofans, that's what's propelling it up right now. The rocket is in the very, very center on the Unity right there, and that's not going to be fired until it actually separates. So, Sawyer, you were saying it's going to get up to like 45,000 feet. That's way up there.
Over 50,000 is typically the altitude at where it drops from. They start going to like a normal-ish altitude that you'd fly on in a commercial airplane, and then after that they will raise it to about 50,000 feet, maybe a little higher, before performing the drop.
Oh man, I'm just sitting here enjoying these camera shots. Look at that thing.
And the crazy thing is, the space part of this will go up to Mach 3, right? Like about it's somewhere in there, maybe a bit below, a bit higher, but that's quite fast.
That's booking. That's SR-71 fast. That's
you certainly get a speeding ticket for that.
I mean, you know what's crazy? I often over on my end, we see. People are like, oh man, I wish we still did stuff like dropping X-15s from B-52s. I mean, this is pretty close to that. That's pretty freaking good. I mean, obviously, the Eve is not going to go on a similar trajectory to the X-15, but it almost is kind of similar. I mean, we harken for nostalgia like that, but you see this thing. Yes, sir?
We got to get you on a strato launch stream because they're starting to do Talon drops. They haven't done a powered flight yet, but Talon to me is so cool because it's very X-15 like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because Jack, that's a really good point. We have strato launcher and we have this. They're both drop ships that strato launch things. That's amazing. Like I can't even talk straight. I'm getting too excited about it.
Which actually we do have some question. We have seen people asking in the question queue of what is the difference between this and Stratolaunch?
Well, for one, I think Stratolaunch is a little bit bigger. Jack, I mean, you've seen it. Is it a little bit of a bigger vehicle, huh?
Much bigger. They're obviously both built by Scaled Composites and operated by their respective companies, Virgin Galactic and Stratolaunch. But both aircraft do share a common manufacturer. Famously, Burt Rutan is like just an aerospace legend, an absolute wizard. And yeah, Scaled Composites, his company, has developed all manner of really amazing and outstanding, and in some cases, wacky aircraft and spacecraft. And so they're both made by Scaled Composites. That's sort of what you're seeing there in terms of similarity. They both have the twin hull design, but very, very, very different aircraft. Not only in terms of size, but Eve and Unity are sort of one-off. Not one-off. They're their own designs, whereas a lot of what Stratolaunch was modified from 747s, although Stratolaunch also is largely a clean sheet design with like some 747 parts, but two very different aircraft.
So, I mean, Stratolaunch has 6 747 engines on it though, right? Like instead of just 4. I mean, that's
Correct.
A monster of a vehicle, yeah.
It was made to lift, I think, like 500,000 pounds at takeoff. Like not total weight of the whole thing, but weight of the thing it's lifting. It's insane.
That's awesome. Anyway, Sawyer, it seems like we got a little bit of a super chat queue going up here. You think you could bring us up to speed over there?
Sure. Before we even started streaming, we had a whole bunch of people becoming members. Kichi, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Sideshow Bob, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Westy, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. MacGyver, thank you as well for gifting a Red Team membership. And boy, look at that view.
Wow.
That's gorgeous. You can clearly see Unity underneath there. Continuing along, Travis saying, I like rockets the most. I find this launch a little plain.
Wow.
I like it. I approve, especially considering this next super chat as well from Chris K saying, pun token for the punster himself, Sawyer. Which
All right, so you got a token and you used it, so you're out of tokens.
I didn't write the first one. I was reading a super chat, sir.
I love
Anyway.
how the NSF team at this point is very much negotiating with Sawyer about his pun tokens. It's like, I'm not sure, does it count?
Yeah, well, as a token of my appreciation, I'll make a pun right there.
Oh, God.
Mitsua Wonderful saying, launch on my birthday. I must be spoiled. A happy birthday.
There you go.
Jim
Happy birthday.
Cavett. Jim Cavett, let's light this quote-unquote candle. I'd say it's still a candle. Also gifting a Red Team membership. Thank you, Jim. Dean gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And then Out of This World saying, go Virgin Space. Good luck on your first customer flight. All NASA spaceflight team are legends. Much love from across the pond from the Galloway family. Very nice.
There you go.
It's looking pretty good. Just like the ship right now, it looks really good with Eve and Unity. Holy cow.
I mean, sometimes it's just good to just sit back and watch, you know. That's a pretty shot right up the business end right there. It's great.
Exactly. Might be a good time as well while we're watching it climb to altitude to take some questions here.
Go ahead.
Let's start with this one from JTCH saying, how does the space plane separate from the plane itself? So what is the separation mechanism? Adrian?
Okay.
Or EJ,
Yeah,
you
Adrian.
take it.
No, Adrian, do it. I wasn't exactly sure. I think it's an explosive bolt system, but I could be wrong on that one. So, Adrian, take it away to tell me I'm probably wrong.
I'm actually not super sure as well. I also assumed it would be explosive bolts. But I don't want to... It could be also pneumatic, but usually these kinds of mechanisms tend to be explosive bolts. I'm right now making sure if we like, I'm not even sure if they ever confirmed that. That might be a situation where they not even confirmed that yet. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah,
I'm very sorry to have to bail on this question.
No problem, dude. I did it too. I kind of was like, here, take the ball, hot potato. It's no problem at all. We'll figure it out, and we will get it. We have the power of the internet on our side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hope the power of the internet delivers.
All right, we'll continue on with more questions that we can probably get the answers to here. So Edward Brown asking, what is the target altitude of the spacecraft?
Oh, yeah. So they have a bit of a variety in where it ends up, but usually they end up between 87 and 89 kilometers of altitude. For example, the last one, the VSS Unity 25 flight, which was just in May of this and verified the customer experience, that went to 87.2 kilometers or 54.2 miles at Mach 2.94. So
yeah, I think it's like 300,000 feet, something like that.
Yeah. Like, it will be probably around like this 87 to 90 kilometers area again, where we are looking at today.
Man, I need to get my aviators because I got the need for speed.
And you question why I get pun tokens?
Yeah.
Hey, that wasn't a pun. It was a reference. It's different.
Can I get a red button on my desk that I can continuously just push?
Freaking Jeopardy buzzer on there? Nope.
Yep. Also, we have the tracking data now here, powered by Flight Radar 24.
Yep, you'll see that on the left side, and then obviously VSS Eve continuing on the right side of the screen there.
Yeah, if you guys could occasionally call out what altitude we're at, that's extremely helpful. Thank you.
I'm personally at about 80 meters, Jack. That's about the altitude of my city. Does that help you?
So, by the way, I quit. Good luck. Bye.
We are at about 28,000 feet, if I see that correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Barrow's saying 28,600 with a. Let's see, what's the climb rate there?
1,800 feet per minute, approximately.
Yep. I mean, that thing's got some thrust. That's up there pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it gets to 30K pretty fast, and then the last 10,000 feet up to 40 is much slower, just because the air gets so thin.
Yeah. Wings don't wing when there's no air. Fun fact.
almost like we heard that. Yeah, Jack got some great info out there, getting a tour of everything, including some of the details of how the flight works, and that was one of the things I found really interesting about that.
That's, by the way, my favorite Kerbal moment, when you start to learn Kerbal and then you notice at some point, oh wait, aerodynamic surfaces don't work in space. It's a very big learning experience at the beginning of Kerbal.
I mean, as a Kerbal player myself, that's one of the best ways to visualize it. You can sit there and you can tell somebody, wings don't work up there, and then you try to fly something up into space in KSP, it doesn't work. I mean, it's not an actual super good approximation because Kerbal's a little bit smaller, but it does drive the point home pretty well.
Yeah. In general, is it just me, or does this all feel a bit it feels a bit Kerbal-y, right? Because I associate airdropping vehicles a lot with Kerbal. I don't know. It's just a thing you like to do there.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Jeb wouldn't want to fly on this. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's true. Oh man, these tracking cameras, that really close-up view is... I know I keep bringing it up, but still.
It's excellent, man. Like I said, sometimes it's better to just sit back and watch. I mean, that's a great shot, even through the clouds. That's really good. We can read the logo on the bottom of the plane.
I think that bodes well, maybe, hopefully, for seeing the drop.
I mean, it still has what?
I'm getting set up in the drop zone now, and there is blue sky above me with some very light wispy stuff, but yeah, trending positive. Fingers crossed.
Excellent.
That's what we like to hear.
We call that a Starship or Falcon Heavy situation. It's trending positive.
Oh boy. Hey, Sawyer, do you think we could check those super chats real quick? See what we got teed up over there?
Yeah.
I think I saw a name we might recognize.
Yes, we have a super chat here from Forger Stucky, whose real name is Mark. That is the real person that we are thinking of. He has flown into space as a commercial astronaut before. So if you are watching, thank you, and we very much appreciate the support there.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Really
That's
cool.
Awesome.
Let's see. We have Callie saying, "Whoa, space, go we." That's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud, but there we go. Thank you for the support.
Totally new sentence.
Harvier asking, can we get any specific details on the experiments to be conducted aboard the spaceplane when it gets to microgravity?
Yes.
I mean, sorry, you had the experiments explained on lockdown, dude. Keep going with it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Sure. There's a few different kinds of experiments that will be going on as part of the Virtue 1 mission. There's going to be a whole bunch of rack-mounted payloads. I haven't seen exact specifics yet of what they will be, but this is all part of the Italian Air Force. But the commander will be wearing a state-of-the-art smart suit designed to measure biometric data and physiological responses, so basically how the body reacts to being in microgravity, and then also once it is out of microgravity. So he'll be in charge of all of those research objectives, and is also training for a future flight on an Axiom mission as well, should just point out. Otherwise, there will be testing done to measure cognitive performance of microgravity, so how the brain works and how your body functions along with it, and investigating how certain liquids and solids mix in microgravity. And then the third experiment conducted by the third astronaut on board We'll be conducting tests to involve wearing multiple sensors on the body, examining different things like heart rate, brain function, and other human performance during the spaceflight.
And also, I kind of want to chime in here and say, like, this is a prime example, I think, where where you see how the suborbital kind of launch infrastructure really helps, because these kind of experiments, you don't need a multi-month stay at the ISS to conduct them. You can use this, which is a bit more lower, maybe a little bit less expensive, and it really helps to enable different kind of experiments that might be usually not get a slot on very expensive high orbit missions. So
I have another
think it's
fun
a
fact.
really... Oh, go ahead.
Das, this was his question that he asked. It was really good. He asked CEO Mike Moses, what is the timing like from putting the experiment in the rack and putting the rack in Unity to getting it back? Like, how long until it gets weightless? How long do you get it back? So it's about 2 hours. So that's a really fast turnaround, and that's to your point, Adrian. That's is useful in its own way.
Mm-hmm. We've seen there are other commercial spaceflight endeavors where you can late load stuff like that, but yeah, it's often not talked about how you can late unload, or early unload, I should say, right when the payload comes back down.
Exactly. That's one of the important things with these experiments too. A lot of them is getting that data down and getting it down quick. So talk about in and out in a couple hours. That's a scientist's dream right there.
I mean, some of it is time sensitive. Like if you have an experiment that needs to be at a certain temperature, sitting out in the desert, it may say it needs to be cold, and you're out in the desert, which is not cold except at night. Right, it's not nighttime. Pretty sure by the camera shot, but yeah, I mean, some of these experiments are very time sensitive.
Along those lines, I'm gonna ask 2 questions here combined. Brenton asking, will VSS Unity go past the Kármán line? So I know it's a bit of a debate there, but also, how much time will they have approximately in microgravity?
So, Adrian, how on their suborbital trajectory, how much microgravity do you think they get through?
We had talked, like, I am not actually sure about the to the
It's not
second.
very long.
But it's down to the minutes. It's it's a very short window. I remember like 4 to 6 minutes, if I'm not totally off the line here.
I believe it's about 5 minutes, so I think you're right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so it's really they basically will be prepared to conduct these experiments as soon as they are getting close to ready, because they have a very tight window they have to hit here for these experiments.
Yeah, one of the things they do in their training is essentially discuss with each other and plan. Okay, I'm going to be here. I'm going to go there. I have to go back into the back and start the racks and start the experiments in the racks. And so everyone kind of has an idea of what they're going to do beforehand, because you only have a limited amount of time. Though I will say, in the simulator, from the point where they were like, okay, now we're weightless and you're unstrapped, to the point where they're like, okay, now you would be getting back in your seat, it didn't feel short. Now, who knows if you're actually flying on it, but it was, I was sitting looking out the simulator windows like, ooh, and enjoying my time. So it's definitely not like, it's not like an hour long, but it didn't feel as fleeting as I thought it might, which is, something to consider.
Cool. Now, as White Knight 2 goes up to segues up to its drop point, we're going to segue into Adrian here with the merch plug. Oh man,
not bad.
Man,
I give it a 7 out of 10. I am generous today. And we are going to metal prints today, because I want to show you some of our amazing metal prints we have in the store, which are a lot of your favorite rockets, I hope. That not only Starship, but also Delta for Heavy, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy. And I actually thought about, would you like a metal print of today's launch vehicle in the store? And I was just curious how people would feel about that. And if you would like that, please tell us in the chat or on social media, because then maybe Jack or Das gets a nice shot while they are there, and we will make that happen and maybe give you some Virgin Galactic shots in the metal print store. So just making
geez.
sure. No
Pressure's
pressure.
on. I got to get a print-worthy shot.
Good luck, Jack. But yeah, that concludes it. Just check it out. I think there's some really, really cool shots in there, and it's the best way to get space on your wall. So
And that's at shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
there we go. Thank you, Sawyer.
You're welcome.
All right. So let's see. White Knight 2 is reporting altitude at 39,750. So we're getting there. We're almost up to that drop point.
So here's a good question then to go along with that, EJ. Brian Illenberg asking, why is VMS Eve circling? Also 100 pun tokens for Sawyer. Thank you. But the genuine part of the question, though, why is it doing all of these racetracks?
Well, it has a flight restricted area. There's a cordoned off area called the temporary flight restriction where the drop point is. You basically don't want anything else flying around in there because the spacecraft, Eve coming back down, it can't make that many maneuvers, right? It's not a powered vessel, so they have a temporary flight restriction, and it's circling inside of the TFR.
Right, and it has to get up to its drop altitude as well, so that takes a little bit of time. Like Jack mentioned earlier, it gets up to 30,000 pretty quick, but considering that the drop altitude is approximately 50,000 feet, that's going to take some time. So to stay within that envelope, so to speak, it does those little racetrack circles, kind of holding pattern, while it continues to climb.
It's gonna be fun, like once it's in really like in this final racetrack where you can see the lines itself for the drop. That's really exciting because then you just wait for it to happen.
Yeah, so continuing along with the questions about how the whole procedure is going to work. So we talked about the drop, we've talked about getting into space. Just Rup asking, how do they deal with heating during re-entry? Adrian or EJ, either of you know the answer? Adrian, go for it.
So it's actually compared to a lot of other vehicles, like for example when we talk about Starship, this is surprise or Dragons returning from the ISS. It has not that much of a velocity because it doesn't go to orbital speed. It doesn't need that much. It's relatively slow with only Mach 3. So heating is not that big of an issue compared to other space vehicles, which are going much faster. And since the heating increases a lot with velocity, they just bleed it off over time, the velocity, and then with that, they don't have that much of a heating issue.
There we go. And then I guess to bring it full circle here, Alfie asking, how does the rocket land? So EJ, how does it land once it gets through re-entry?
Well, it's more or less just like a regular airplane. I mean, obviously not powered. It is dead stick all the way down. Once the rocket that's on Eve flames out, comes back down, it'll feather, and then pretty much just like a regular airplane. Once that feather comes back down, it flies basically like a glider right back down to the runway. I mean, there are other space planes that do glide back down, but I wouldn't call it exactly like the space shuttle. The space shuttle does something. I wouldn't call it gliding, but it does something.
It's falling with style.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I have more fun facts. One, it's not a stick; it's a stoke or a yick. The yoke does not actually rotate in the same way for roll that you would have on a normal airplane. It's more like a whole entire stick thing with a yoke on it, and the whole entire stick moves. I'm probably butchering the explanation here, but suffice to say, I was surprised when I sat down in the simulator. And I know I keep talking about the simulator. We did shoot some video of that. Maybe we'll put it up for members or what have you. But definitely, it was, suffice to say, quite an experience. But yeah, members, thank you, members, and we hopefully will have that up for you guys maybe later today or what have you. But just need to go through the footage and make sure there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. But that was
I tried,
simulator.
Jack.
The simulator was awesome. Thank you, Das, for filming it. I got to be in the co-pilot seat or whatever you want to call it. the other thing is EJ, you mentioned the feather.
Yep.
When the
So-
feather is stowed after after entry, I forget what height you're at. I think it's about 50,000 feet. You're coming back. You're falling. The sensation of falling at that point is quite dramatic. And a really crazy thing that I didn't expect is the aerodynamics of the vehicle change so dramatically when the feather goes from like almost stowed to fully stowed, that the entire vehicle sort of, it's like being at the top of a roller coaster. Like you go from sort of falling like flat to like a very intense nose down attitude, and then it gets, you pull out of it. That was one of the more exciting parts of the flight, surprisingly to me. The simulator thing was so cool. I can't wait to get that footage out there because it's really cool, and it'd be a nice perk for our members because, hey, members, we have 2 people out here in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, 2 vehicles. Das flew here, flew and drove. I drove. Like this is not a small endeavor, and so thank you to members for helping us do what we do. We so appreciate it.
Endeavor's actually a little further west in Los Angeles.
Oh, don't you?
Thank you, Sawyer.
Oh my!
The other big thing, y'all got me okay, right?
Yep, you're good, man.
The other big thing about the simulator, you know how they have the simulators that have the big hydraulics? And it's like I'm going to say amusement park ride, but not really because it's a serious simulator, right? They don't have any hydraulics on the simulator for the spaceship because they said, well, you can't simulate 3Gs. We can't simulate some of the maneuvers that we could do. It doesn't matter how many hydraulics you have, you just can't simulate it. So their simulator is actually fixed. And then to simulate the Gs, they have both the acrobatic planes that they fly around in, and they sort of feel the Gs in those planes. And then they also go through a centrifuge. I think it was in Pennsylvania they go out to, and they're in one of those things where you strap in and it's like, well, your lips are like flapping because you're going around so fast you get the G-forces, right? But they show them screens in the centrifuge that map what the screen should be showing when they're feeling those Gs. So in order to like simulate that or train that or build that muscle memory, they actually have a couple different ways of doing it, like feeling it in the planes and then watching their readouts and screens when they're in the actual centrifuge, like spinning them around and making them sort of artificially experience those Gs. It's really, I mean, we have the whole explanation of how the simulator works and how they train and the energy management of it and everything that goes into taking a rocket plane that jumps into space and then has to come down and has one chance to land on the runway. Right? It doesn't get to go around. It doesn't have engines it can throttle back up again or anything like that. So it's super interesting. We're going to go through that video. Jack and I just learned a lot that we can talk about here on the stream just because we got to sit down with their chief pilot and listen like through the entire process of what they do. Also, Jack, do you think we could tell them what we did in the simulator? He said they would never do it in a real flight.
You didn't crash it, did you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You sure?
The simulator.
Don't lie. There's a lot of people watching.
And
It's out on the
you
internet.
can walk away from.
He said in advance that they would never do this in real life, and then he does like a barrel roll. On the way down to the runway in the space plane after it had hopped into space. So, anyways, it's really the dome is really cool. Go ahead, y'all. I'll stop talking.
No, I love these stories. I do just want to point out the vehicle has been holding at about 46,000 feet or so. Right now, no vertical speed indicated, so it's leveled out pretty much at this point.
You would level out in the corners, Sawyer. Yeah, I think she's going to turn around and do a final ascent here, and then I think we might be in line for a drop.
Yep, just wanted to point out that we might be getting a little close there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Excellent.
Currently, it looks like it's to the west of the hangar right now, correct?
South.
South, okay. Yeah, the one trick with the spot I've been able to set up with here is I have the hangar to my west, and it covers like everything from south-southwest to north-northwest. So that's a little tough for me. I may not see it go past, but anyways, y'all still have views of it, right?
We don't have views, but we got the flight radar information. It's
okay,
over Las
deal.
Cruces right now.
Gotcha. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, of course. Just figured we'd keep you updated in the field as well. And yeah, like you said, it's members are in for some great content. Which, speaking of members, Timothy Nevins, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Jim Cavett, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Apocalypse Cow gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. We really appreciate, especially the people that get to gift as well, because that means more people who might not be able to get access to some of these amazing pictures and videos that we get behind the scenes, and just share the love of space with more people. And a reminder, to support us, you don't have to do it monetarily. You don't have to get from the shop. You don't have to super chat or use the tips page. Just being here, chatting with us, and liking the stream means a lot. Because the more you like the stream and the more you guys engage, the more that it gets recommended to more people, and the more that we can spread the space bug across YouTube and get more people excited about it. Just wanted to make sure we mention that as well. So you guys being here means a lot.
Thanks, everybody. Speaking of people in the chat, Forger is saying that they're in the chat that they're not going to drop SpaceShipTwo until they're coming back solidly near Elephant Butte Reservoir. So we're a little ways out from the drop there. So that's cool,
Yeah,
Forger. I appreciate you watching, buddy. Thank you very much.
Very much.
And Alex in our back channel, as always, providing facts. Compared it to previous flights, and as he said, normally it takes about 1 hour to drop, and they do one test pass prior to the drop. So next up, we could see that test drop. At a test pass, not drop. Not a test drop. That wouldn't work.
Right. It will fly the path,
Yeah.
and then give one final loop, and then go for the actual flight if everything is as expected.
Yeah, every time we've seen a drop out of Spaceport America, it has been to the north, essentially over Angle. That is actually where I am right now, and there's blue sky above me. But there's also clouds all around the whole of blue sky that's above me. So
Actually,
we'll see.
Forger pointing out it's not normal to do the cold pass prior to drop, although we have seen it before. So
Don't confuse
what they did on the
last
previous flight is
Yeah.
not usual.
There you go.
Okay, there we
Cool.
go.
Well, thanks for that insight, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, very much appreciated having you in chat there too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's take a question here from chat. Elon John, which, boy, the song ideas that came into my head with Elton John and Elon, saying,
boy.
how much room is there inside for the crew to move around?
I mean, they're strapped in. I mean, except when you get up to the microgravity there, it's not much more than I'd say like a small private jet. The Eve is a pretty small spacecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Say
It's
like a Citation or like a Gulfstream 3 or something like that. It's not a lot of space in there. Actually, it's probably smaller than those.
It's definitely you can, like, if you look at pictures, for example, from the Richard Branson flight, you can definitely see there's space to move around, but it's not like everybody has like a few square meters or something and just can move around as they want. It's definitely you have to probably accommodate with it with the space you have.
Yeah, although apparently it's a little bit taller than a traditional private aircraft, so you've got that up and down room.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
if there-
Forger was saying in chat that you can actually stand up in there. It's got more headroom than a regular private jet. I mean, I'm not saying, I'd want to buy this plane that suits my, travel needs, but I mean, I'd probably take this. It's pretty cool. Goes fast.
Oh yeah. Let's see. We've got a bunch of super chats here that I don't want to miss as well. Let's see. Callie, Kerbal Space Program, yay. Yes, you got a whole bunch of the Kerbal streamers from the mid-2010s here in one call, which is great.
Yo.
Also saying, I like space. I do too. Keith March, thank you very much for the super chat. Mario saying hello from Beijing, fully fueled up. And asking, if flying in a straight line from takeoff to landing, what is the flight range of VMS Eve?
That would take some time to figure out. Those exact numbers, right? Because are we talking about like from takeoff with the mothership all the way to engine cutoff on Eve there? Because that's a long way. I mean, you could shoot that thing off pretty far, but because the plane's just kind of circling over one area, I mean, we'd have to see like distance traveled. That'd be a little hard to figure out.
It also depends on, are we talking about like always attached with the space rocket with the Unity, or is it like without or half without? Like, there's a lot of factors that will influence this. So
I mean,
I think it's hard to answer. I'm right now doing my best to find some number, but I think the answer depends a lot on many different factors.
Okay, so right now the altitude is above 45,000, still climbing here. So it should be leveling off soon from that turnaround.
Yep. We're seeing about 48,000 on the GPS altitude. And again, I believe Jack mentioned it was kind of near Elephant Butte that we see the drop. So we are getting kind of near there.
Yeah.
What was that? Designed to ferry the SpaceShipTwo to Hawaii.
I'm not sure if it's
Is it
Discord, me, or
Some range.
EJ.
Yeah, we have robot EJ.
Okay, that's a
Okay, it's EJ. EJ, you are
Pretty far.
having some tech issues, I think.
We'll give him a moment there.
Yeah, we'll check back. Sorry, let's take some more questions.
Just want to hit a few more super chats really quick, then we will get to even more questions. Again, reminder, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight, and it puts it neatly in this little software that we have so that we can see your questions and answer them as best as we can. Shaolin saying, welcome to the future. Commercial spaceflight. It's exciting. Andrew getting a couple items from the store at shop.nasaspaceflight.com saying, keep up the good work, guys and gals. The only place to keep up to date on space stuff. We appreciate that a lot. And I will say this one before we move on, because Keith Glazer saying Endeavour best shuttle, excuse me, not based.
Are you biased there? Just
no,
asking.
not at all.
Atlantis is the best. Sarah's wrong. Atlantis is the best.
It's definitely Atlantis.
Anyway, continuing along, Daniel Weaver asking here, I heard that the solid rocket motor has gimbal and throttle. Is this true? Adrian, do you know?
I believe it. Yeah, it has gimbal. I'm not sure about the throttle part. I think it's throttles with the assist of, like, I remember that it has, but I cannot explain the mechanism. But it has for sure gimbal, like it can move, because otherwise it, like, completely static would be very hard to steer into space.
Yeah, what's interesting about the engine nozzle, I do want to talk about it really quick, is the fact that it is designed basically so that once it fires, it will pitch the vehicle upward. It's really cool in that rather than having to pitch it up or down, the nozzle is fixed in place and then it's cut in such a way that it will do the climb using the solid rocket fuel to get into space and then glide its way back down. So it is a fixed engine nozzle. Just want to make sure we emphasize that.
Okay, fellas, I'm back. Can everybody hear me? Sorry, I needed to recharge my batteries there for a second.
Yeah, battery acquisition acquired.
All right, excellent. Sorry, just needed to hot swap the batteries there, Okay.
That's all good.
Sweet. So, sorry, you're talking about the rocket motor, yeah?
Yeah, I love the angle that it's cut at. The design of that to get it into orbit to me is really cool.
Oh,
or
yeah.
into space, excuse me, not orbit.
It's actually got the asymmetric nozzle. That's really, really, really interesting stuff. It's the reason why it's cut asymmetrically is to get a pitch up moment on the vehicle. The rocket actually isn't gimbaled. It's fixed in position with a cut nozzle. And that cut nozzle actually gives you the pitch up moment. That's what makes Eve fly on its not ballistic arc, but fly on its arc up into space.
Unity, right?
Yeah, that too.
Sorry, yeah, I know it can be a little bit confusing. So just to clarify for those who are kind of just joining, you have the mothership, which is the VMS Eve. That is the plane that is currently carrying the vehicle that will go into space, which is the VSS Unity. So you've got the spaceship, and then you've got the mothership. So besides the fact I just love the name, just wanted to make sure we have that clarified. Let's see. Here's a question. Just talking about the if you were to want to fly on board it, how much is a ticket? Which the answer, as of now at least, is approximately 450,000 US dollars.
Yeah, it's a tad too expensive for me right now, Sawyer.
Just a touch, right?
Yeah, it's basically I'm close to there, but not right now. But to be fair, I think at least from a would I do it perspective, I would rather fly on these suborbital vehicles than on something that goes to space because it's like it's more convenient. It's like you go there, you see something cool, and then you go back down.
I can't
Maybe-
agree with that. I want to go orbital, but at the same time, that said, I would absolutely fly on Unity or with a Virgin Galactic. Like, it just seems so cool. It's a hand-flown spacecraft. I can't emphasize enough how awesome that is. It's one of a kind. A human being's hand is on the stoke, or yick, I guess. You know, it's not computer controlled. There's not like someone back in mission control who's like, able to engage an autopilot. No, it's just by this, sheer brute force and skill of a pilot, which that sounds like a heck of a ride to me. But yeah, it's I don't know. I interrupted you, Adrian. I'm sorry. I would fly on it. I would fly on an orbital one. But all of these things, they start off expensive, right? They start out like
Yeah.
planes, cars, televisions, radios. Look at any technology, computers, over the last however amount of time that you want to look at it. And all this technology starts off expensive and then slowly works its way into the mass market and becomes cheaper and mass producible, yada, yada, yada. So hopefully all that is to say in a couple years' time, the likes of you and I can afford a flight on something like this.
I recently had a discussion with Harry Stranger about some other space topic that got cheaper with satellite imagery. If you look at satellite imagery, at some point in time, it was basically impossible to just task a satellite to do imagery, and at this point, you can just use some apps and task it for like a few $100s.
Yeah. Hi, Harry. You're the best. We love you.
Yes.
All right. Looks like the Virgin Galactic stream has gone live, the main one, so I'd say we're trending in the right direction here.
Yeah, and by the way, I do just want to emphasize, and I think that is really important that we haven't mentioned yet there, that this is a, I guess, crew-flown vehicle. There is a person that is flying it. It's not an automated system, that it is physically hands-on to deploy the feathering, to actually steer it all the way back down. So I think that's really important to note. And yes, we will still get plenty of awesome views for you here. Again, we have Jack out in the field tracking the whole thing, and we've got our tracking cameras out and ready to see if we can see the drop, which should hopefully be coming up very soon. You can see the plane is about 48,000 feet from what I can see there on the GPS altitude and holding. So things are looking pretty good at the moment. Here's a question. EJ, I'll throw this one to you since you're more of an expert when it comes to fuels, especially solid rocket motor fuel. What type of fuel does the motor on board use compared to, say, something like Blue Origin?
Well, other suborbital rockets use hydrolox. This one is a solid rocket motor. But it's not just a solid rocket motor. They're actually using a hybrid, what's called a hybrid engine. It's a solid rocket motor with, I believe it's hydroxyl terminated polybutadiene and ammonium perchlorate, but they also have a nitrous injection system. So if you're a car fan like me, I'm a pretty big car guy, like getting my hands dirty. You know that nitrous can make things go a lot faster. And the solid rocket booster already has a lot of energy at the expense of efficiency there. With the nitrous injection, it really goes hard. It's actually a really, really awesome little piece of tech in the spacecraft. Really, really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Here's a quick look because we've been concerned about visuals of being able to actually see it. This is a look from one of our tracking cameras right now. You can see there's a little bit of a gap there in the clouds, so we're hopeful that our tracking cameras there will be able to get something. We also have Jack, who's out there a little bit further away, where he had previously been reporting clearer skies as well. There you go. And so we are keeping an eye out on all of our feeds here to see what we're able to get. And again, we are quickly approaching the drop. At least that's what it appears to be.
I've got clouds again. The blue hole is like in front of me, but not over me anymore. Where is the combined spacecraft and mothership right now? Is it west of Ingle?
It's to the northwest of Truth. It's to the northwest of Truth or Consequences.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I should have my feed here momentarily, and if I get eyes on it at all, I'll get you some imagery.
Yeah, over here at the spaceport, there may be some background noise on me here, y'all. There's a little patchy bit of blue directly above us, and it's rapidly moving towards the mountains. So I sort of have my camera pointed in the direction that we were indicated from here where the drop was going to be, but it is one little hole in a mostly cloudy sky right now. And again, that's not a condition that means that they can't actually do the drop and go into space. The actual condition is when they're coming in for a landing, the clouds need to be clear enough that they can see the runway from around 16 to 18,000 feet, right? So because it's all a glider, it's energy management all by itself, it has to be able to get clear eyes on the runway as it approaches, and that's the cloud rule that they go by. Dropping, lighting the rocket motor, jumping into space, the clouds have nothing to do with that. It's when they come back down, they have that one shot to land it right there on the runway, and they need to be able to see the runway. So there's a lot of clouds up above me right now, though.
It looks like we have a descent from the mothership here. It's currently going down a little bit, down to 46,000, and it just leveled off. Just a slight descent there. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything. It looks like it's going up again now, but yeah, just additional note there. It started going down pretty fast.
Yeah.
One thing they did mention is that for the test flights, they actually drop from a slightly higher altitude as compared to customer flights. So it could just be that they're not, they're done climbing and they're going to be at this altitude, and this is their drop altitude. That's also possible.
I mean, it probably makes sense, right? That you maybe want to increase like the margins and like everything you have for customer flights. Because you don't want to push the envelope on a customer flight. You would push it on a test flight.
Exactly. And that's why they've done a whole bunch of test flights up until this point. The most recent one actually happening, what was it, a month or two ago, I believe?
May.
It was May.
It was 25th of May.
Yes. Which did have crew on board, and that was meant to test out the whole procedure, basically, of from suit up all the way to loading up into the vehicle to take off to basically the user experience, I believe is the way that they described it. So we have we have that expertise that we're now using on this flight, which now that it is paying customers, that's why we have that slight name change there as well. And we have, hopefully very shortly, the drop of Galactic 1.
And also we should maybe point out that... Oh, good.
But no, I was just going to say, talking about the suit up and the training and stuff like that, they've basically got it down to an art. Like, they can fly in on Sunday, and then they train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they fly on Thursday. And for this mission specifically, since it was a custom mission where they're doing some of the research with the Italian Air Force, they had more of a training. Like, they've been talking about this, working on it remotely, training how they're going to do their experiments for years and years and years. But in terms of the training, like actually being in the training mock-up, like the actual flight article, it's not flight article, the same exact layout, the same exact handles, all that sort of stuff, it's 3 days of training. It's really crazy that they can do that and then go up there and do their experiments. I'll let y'all go ahead.
That's crazy though. Like 3 days is I mean that's you can basically start to really hit a cadence there, and they kind of want to try to hit a cadence here with their next flight, Galactico 2, currently planned for about early August. So that's only like a month and a half before the next flight. And again, remember, the last flight is just a month ago, so that would mean 3 flights in about 3 months, which is quite a pace.
Yeah, it's exciting to see the cadence pick up, and again, down the line, they are working on a third vehicle as well. So hopefully, they'll be able to do even more flights of these commercial crew missions. Which, along those lines, Daniel Lapine was asking, what are these missions meant to achieve? Are they for researching engines or for other companies? Adrian?
These missions are customer missions. In this case, we talked a bit about it before that, but there's a lot of biometric studies going on by the Italian Air Force on this flight. But they are more about like behavior of humans in space and these kinds of aspects. They are not about researching engines right now. They're more about researching humans.
Exactly. And then also down the line, there are people that have paid to just go into space for the sake of going into space. So there's a mix, kind of like what Blue Origin does, it seems, of the research flights as well as just the I paid and I want to go into space flights, for lack of a better way to put it. Want to thank a couple of people here really quickly who've been supporting the stream with super chats and memberships. Joe Kangas, thank you for becoming a Capcom member. Reminder, Capcom and above gets access to our Discord, so hopefully we'll be able to see you in there. Duncan, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Amar, thank you very much for...
And I believe, Sawyer,
look at that.
We have
Yes,
an onboard.
that is an onboard live feed from the plane right now.
That
Do you
is
know
exciting.
where is it right now? Is it turned south yet?
North of Truth or Consequences. It's mid-turn right now,
to
Jack.
turn.
Okay, copy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me know like verbally if you got my feed or not. I'm trying to push all the buttons here. Fighting technology.
And a reminder, there are the 2 pilots that are piloting up front, and then the astronauts on board. You've got Colonel Walter Villadei. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing these. Lieutenant Colonel Angelo Landolfi, Pantaleone Carlucci, and then Virgin Galactic astronaut instructor Colin Bennett. So that is the crew that you're seeing there in the front.
Got a thumbs up right
thumbs
there.
up.
Roger wasn't kidding. There's a lot of headroom in there. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And apparently it's Villadei. Thank you, Alex, for helping me with pronunciations there.
That's also more legroom than you get on like transatlantic flights. So that's also not that bad.
You think they had to pay for the extra legroom seats?
Yeah, it's like bonus plus with window seats.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely not Spirit or Ryanair, so.
Oof. Oof.
No, this is a lot cozier. Let's see. We will keep an eye on that. It looks like we're getting even closer to the drop. Again, the vehicle starting to make a turn towards the south.
This bump.
Current altitude appears it was last at 45,000. I don't see data currently at the moment, but...
Barrow's reporting 46,925. Climb rate 0 feet a minute. Heading 153.
All right.
All I got is clouds.
Are they good-looking clouds? Are they good-looking clouds?
No,
So-
they're terrible. I hate them.
Oh.
Jack, the thing, it's probably, I don't know, 2 to 3 miles, like dead north of the of Spaceport America spaceport right now. Like it's circled around. She's dead north.
Look at this view looking down the back of
Wow, what a
the
shot!
ship there. And that is of the spaceship.
I hope we have this shot for when it separates. That would be amazing.
That would be really cool. If nothing else, we got the crew reaction here currently too.
Just like to give a shout out to Virgin Galactic for allowing us the privilege to have these shots on our feed here. That's quite good.
It is very much appreciated. And so I know we still have more support that I'd like to get through, but at this point it is turning south, which would likely indicate that final turn before the drop, especially with the onboard cameras there. And there is that engine nozzle that we were talking about earlier, how it's cut in a way that it will actually, you don't really need to steer it. So you can go with the fixed engine on the back and then have it pitch up and go into its suborbital trajectory.
Yeah, now keep in mind that nozzle is only there for pitching moment. So they still have to roll, they still have to be able to roll the plane to make sure it's at the, the right, well, I'd say 0 bank angle, right? But that asymmetric nozzle being open more on the top side is actually going to be like a lever pushing the nose of the plane up. It would be like pulling back on the stoke or stick or yoke or...
Stoke or yick.
What's it called?
The stoke or the yick, I believe.
I believe so as well, but the naming confuses me.
I don't want to call it that.
At this point, they said that they are...
We should be getting close to drop now, hopefully.
Yep.
So, looking to hopefully get those views back. And there we go. There are those views back. So we are... It appears to be getting close to that drop. It is now going due south, it appears, on Flight Radar 24.
So we hope to see it soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, a shout out to them for getting us those live feeds. This is very impressive.
Yeah.
So while we're looking at this, EJ, can you kind of explain what we should expect to see when they're ready to fly?
Now, what do you mean ready to fly? You're talking about when they drop?
Yeah, so what's going to happen right before they drop, and then explain the procedure.
So there'll be, if they have the comm loop up, you'll hear release, release, release when they're ready to drop. And on the third release, they'll let the spaceship go, and it'll separate. It'll basically kind of fall away from the mothership. And once it gets to a safe distance, they'll light that rocket engine. And when that happens, if we have a shot of it, you'll know. You'll start going real fast. And then the mothership will turn away and kind of loiter around. Because we were talking about it a little bit before, that once the separation occurs, the runway at Spaceport America is reserved for the spaceship. And the mothership can just sit there and loiter until it's safe to come back down. Because remember that the spaceship only has the rocket fuel. Once that rocket's flamed out, you have no more propulsion. It's gliding back down.
Exactly, and it should get up to an apogee, the highest point at least, of near 90 kilometers up. So that's about 55 miles up, just for the Americans there.
It's a long way.
And then on top of that, the long way up, you then have the long way down, which, as we mentioned, that will be a crew that will pilot it down to a safe landing. But I think one of the major things that will be a big transition point from that spaceflight side to the more airplane side involves feathering, which I know we've mentioned a couple times, but can you kind of go over what feathering is one more time?
We're talking about the entire back of the plane basically folding like a taco.
We have launched. We have confirmation that they have dropped.
There we go. We have a drop.
And there's the onboard view.
Okay.
Our cameras on the ground are keeping an eye out for it. We're doing the best we can with the feeds that we have here.
Okay, the mothership has turned away. We should be seeing an engine ignition here.
Yeah, we are keeping an ear out to see if we can hear anything, and of course, keeping our eye. There we go. There's the engine lit.
Yeah, the engine is on.
Little rough to see through their feeds, but
oof. Oh yeah, there we go.
We can see it. We can see it running.
That was the tail cone that you could see, and there's the crew inside looking happy.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, beautiful.
Perfect.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's real nice. Now, as the vehicle gets higher here, the plume coming out of that nozzle will actually get a little bit wider as the pressure drops here. Watch that plume. It'll it'll continue to expand as the ambient pressure goes down outside until flame out.
Which it looks like we are getting there.
Yeah, it looks like a good flame out there. And now the fun part.
Now they're
look at
microgravity.
Haha, that's awesome.
And they're getting to work.
Yep, that rack you see back there is some of the research that they were planning to do. So that would be the commander starting his experiments there.
Oh, wow, look at that.
But how cool is it that we just get like live views of this right now? That's just really like,
There's the
you can see
feather.
the turn.
And there is,
Like I
Look at
said,
what
the
it's
whole thing folds in half. It's like a big taco.
And there's the Italian flag.
Da 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 da.
I can still hear the motor burning right now. Unfortunately, that's all I got. That was clouded out there, and you could probably tell. But oh well, people are in space. We're headed to space.
Fun fact that at this very moment, that means that 16 people are in space if you include the Galactic 1 crew here.
The high number. I like these high numbers.
Oh, yeah. And again, you can see them.
Numbers. We got to pump up those numbers.
I love the view of them just looking out the window as well. So you get the juxtaposition of the science experiment on the right, and then taking a look out the window on the left. This is the era of commercial space, ladies and gentlemen.
Great, man. You know, people say, "Oh, I want to live in the past." I'm like, "Nah, you're crazy. This is great. I'll take this. This is fine."
Yeah, and I think it also is really like it is a cool justification of this suborbital launches. It's a really cool way to use these capabilities.
And there is VSS Unity with the Earth. Look at that.
Oh, that's killer.
That's amazing.
Oh. Vehicle orienting itself, I believe, to prepare to return to Spaceport America.
Yeah, so the flight profile, forgive me if we talked about it already, it basically goes straight to vertical once the motor ignites, and then as the motor burns out, it's almost like a backflip. The whole entire vehicle goes inverted, and that's sort of so that you're looking at the Earth in all its majesty. Then, as we're seeing now, as it gets to the point where they're getting ready to re-enter and line up for landing, they will reorient back into that belly down position. And then this is sort of the part we were talking about in the simulator, where the simulator was motionless, but standing there and like having this in your periphery, I don't get motion sickness or anything. I didn't in the simulator, but it's definitely a case of the fidelity of the simulation was so good that your inner ear and your eyes were sort of yelling at each other. Like, no, we're seeing and hearing or feeling different things. So at this point, the sensation of falling back to Earth was quite dramatic. And then when they re-engage that feather, they will have that lovely little pitch down, like top of the roller coaster moment.
You can now see how aerodynamics is starting to really influence the plane again.
As they get back into the atmosphere, the plane's getting heated up a little bit because it's compressing the air that it's hitting, but you can see it's kind of rocking the plane back and forth there. The feather, I'd like to point out that the feather is actually pointing at the ground, and the part with the crew in it is actually parallel to the ground. And basically, it turns the entire main wing section and the crew segment of the spacecraft into a gigantic air brake. That's one of the reasons why it doesn't seemingly have like tiles or any type of thermal protection system on it.
And again, there is a pilot actually, or the commander and the pilot that are flying this vehicle. So this is not an fully automated return. This is a hands-on flight.
Yeah, we're in for some chop here.
And I also want to point out, I saw it was interesting that there was the person that was helping everyone else strap in the bottom right. That is Colin Bennett, who is the astronaut instructor for Virgin Galactic, helping everyone get strapped in and prepared for this quote-unquote re-entry here and landing.
Little turbulent there. Look at the crew bouncing around.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy you now have to lose, right?
Yep.
Because all that energy that got you into space, you now need to lose to get back to the ground.
What goes up must come down.
Just had sonic booms here on the ground. Two really nice loud ones. I don't know if it's the cloud layer or what, but that was a lovely double boom.
Okay.
Looks like back channel saying no drink service.
The feather is retracted there. And now the vehicle will pitch up, and from here, it's basically just gliding back down to that runway.
There we go. And it's
Yeah,
gonna...
what they'll do is they're basically managing their energy extremely carefully right now, and they will do a series of turns and bleed off that energy as they get closer and closer, and they will eventually end up touching down on runway. What is it, 16? They'll go in the same direction as the prevailing winds for takeoff. So
Always into a headwind.
exactly, because you get a little bit of extra energy there and margin. So yeah, they'll be on the ground here shortly. Looked like a great flight. Congratulations to Virgin for getting commercial space flight services with Unity and Eve underway after many years and a long and I'm sure very difficult road for a lot of employees. So congratulations to everyone who's put their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. What an awesome day.
Now, they're not back down on the ground yet, Jack, but currently I think the vehicle's just at about 30,000 feet here.
Possibly, yeah. You can see it's still above that cloud cover there.
Yep.
Yeah. And at about half the speed of sound right now. A bit more.
And what's also interesting to note, like Jack was talking about there, is that it will bleed off some of that speed because it does not have the ability to relight an engine. That is a solid rocket motor. Once it's out of fuel, it's out of fuel. So they are controlling that airspeed in their glide so that just like similar, I should say, to the shuttle, they get just the right amount of energy to make it to the runway and land.
You had to say it, right?
Of course. I mean, tell me there's not a better comparison.
We are not sponsored by Casper, but it's like, what is it? Just the right amount of squish, just the right amount of bounce. Or what? I've heard so many podcasts with that sponsor. I don't know. Sorry.
What?
Boo.
The biggest thing here, it's all about energy management, right?
Yep.
You have a certain amount of energy because you had altitude. The solid rocket motor lit, and it gave you a certain amount of velocity that you turned into altitude that took you into space. And now you're trading altitude for velocity again, right? And you have to manage that. You have to make sure that you run out of energy, or you have just enough energy is the right way to say it, as you approach the end of the runway. So the entire thing down, as the spaceship glides back down, the pilots are managing the energy in all the screens. Everything that they're looking at, most of the information that they have is about their energy, their altitude, their velocity, their attitude, all that sort of stuff, because you got to do it just right. Because like we said, you can't light up the jet engine or go around or divert to another airport or whatever. You have a fixed amount of energy, and it needs to make you end up right back in the runway, the center of the runway, when we did it in the sim.
There you go.
It's kind of impressive also from a standpoint of like how much the conditions change over a very short period of time. You basically have going from kind of no atmosphere to going all the way through the complete atmosphere and have like different conditions, different levels of wind, and it changes a lot in just a few minutes.
I mean, you're right there, Adrian, right on the shot. You can see there's upper level clouds and then there's lower level clouds. You can see the difference right there in the shot. Great timing.
Yep.
Yeah, it appears we're at about 20,000 feet up at the moment.
There we go. They're now going through the lower level clouds.
Oh, that's awesome. Look at this.
I'm banning the word clouds. I don't care how cool this looks. I'm officially, we can't say the word cloud for another 30 minutes or so.
Well, Jack, it'll be popping out of the ominous white things that are up in the sky very soon.
Mobile rain platforms.
Yeah, there you go.
For real though, all my grumpiness aside, that's hilarious, Adrian. All my grumpiness aside, this is a really beautiful shot. So I mean, I'll be a broken record once again. Thanks to Virgin for getting us the clean feed there.
Yep. I mean, that's really, especially with these clouds. It enables us to
actually a pretty thick cloud cover at 20,000. That's a big thick boy clouds.
Yep. Now at approximately 15,000 feet up.
I also really like that we got a lot of inside the cabin views this time, because it really shows you how they work and how they operate. I really think that's a very cool part of this, and I mean it's the main part, right? That's why they go there
in real time
too.
too.
It's great seeing the crew right now as they're coming back. It's just all smiles. We're getting the amount of adrenaline that you must be experiencing at the moment is.
There's a ground view.
There she.
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
There we go. Our
Wicked.
yeah, it looks like the ground is seeing her now.
As always, as if we apologize for weird sounds that commentators make while we'll see something cool.
Oh,
that's
that's
just
awesome.
cool.
Track.
I mean, consider where that thing was a couple minutes ago. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive, man.
And I should point out that is our tracking cameras from Spaceport America that you're seeing on the right.
Robots.
So, yeah, so that is that was what we're able to see from Spaceport America as it now flies over the building there. We take a look down the tail again here of VSS Unity.
Yeah, the
That
way
was
DOS
me.
is set up, that
I was
the hangar
tracking
might
that
be-
one.
That was hand tracked DOS.
Oh,
Well done.
fellas.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's
Then I'm
awesome.
sorry.
Dos.
Then I'm sorry for saying thank you to the robots.
No, it's okay. It wouldn't recognize it as a plane, so I had to take over with my Xbox controller.
Oh no! Oh no!
So I was literally tracking that coming in on an Xbox controller. It's going to come
Impressive.
around again, so I'll get it again. Hang on.
Here we go.
There we go.
And if we do see a shot back from onboard, you can see the chase plane. It's flying right behind it.
Yeah, that is our camera being controlled by DOS with an Xbox controller in the middle of the deserts of New Mexico.
It's
Don't
true.
make an
It's true.
Xbox controller joke. Don't make an Xbox controller joke.
I'm trying hard not to.
Back to the plane.
Yeah. So
It's,
there's the
oh,
chase
that's
plane
traffic.
behind it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Look at that.
Great shot, DOS.
I'm not mad right now.
That was not me.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Trying to
We
give you
continue.
credit.
We continue our trend to thank the wrong person.
Yeah, I guess this was in the shuttle days. This was turning along the hack, the heading alignment circle.
Yep.
There were different degrees of it that it could do 90, 180, 270. But yeah, that final turn to line up with the runway.
Okay, looks like we
Could it
got
also
gear
do-
down.
Could it also do 360?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. There we go. It's getting lower.
All right. Grease it.
If you've ever
Ah,
played Shuttle Landing Simulator, you know
very nice.
this is not easy.
Little
Very
struggle to see
nice.
on the feed, but it appears to be
That's-
down.
That's butter.
There it is.
There it
That
is.
was butter. Butter the bread, baby. There we go.
So now we can call it a success because they are down.
Yeah. Excellent. Great flight.
That's what we want to see. Successfully up, successfully down.
Yep.
Woohoo!
And again, that is the first commercial paid mission for Virgin Galactic now in the books.
And the second
Fair
one
enough.
might just be a month away or so. A bit more.
Yeah, I think they're shooting for about a monthly cadence, at least to start here. So that is what we should expect. I
Fantastic.
mean, we had one about this time last month in
Okay.
in May, and so yeah, hopefully we'll have one again about this time next month. Because you know what, I love New Mexico, and Truth or Consequences, Spaceport America. This whole area is so beautiful and so awesome, and this vehicle is so unique and so special. So, hooray! Hopefully
go.
everything went well, and they are able to put all their data and check everything out, and we get another flight here soon.
So they have
Excellent.
to keep seated until the plane has come to a full stop.
Hey, didn't turn off the fasten seatbelt line. Okay.
Somebody,
light,
yeah,
okay?
somebody left their tray table down, so now they're getting admonished. I kid.
Just making
But
sure.
in reality, what they're doing right now is checking all their systems, making sure all the valves and everything are closed, so there's no hazardous gases or anything like that around the vehicle itself before recovery teams begin to get closer to it. So just want to make sure everything is safe, everything is good, and then when they are done doing that we'll see the probably the Land Rovers head out to the vehicle. Have I mentioned that I like Land Rovers? It's cool that they use Land Rovers.
No, Jack. Hey, you know what's cool? It's landed on the runway and we can see it right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got wheel stop right there.
That's a different thing for us because a lot of the times when it lands, we can't see it anymore. But massive thanks. I don't know if y'all can hear the plane coming in for a landing here. Massive thanks to Virgin Galactic for giving us this spot, access, internet, power, the whole shooting match, giving us the tours and everything like that yesterday so that we could see. All right, I didn't actually get to see the drop. It was cloudy. I saw it on the screen, though. And now that it's safely back down here on the runway, we can actually see it for once, which is not a normal thing for us. So,
yeah, it's kind of like I'm a little bit upset that I didn't get to see it, but I've seen so many of these launches at this point that it's not the biggest deal. Although I would have liked to get a print-worthy shot for the shop. Maybe we can dig one up from a previous launch. However, it's a fun stream for us in particular here, just because of the access that we were given after so many times not having it. We sort of got the inverse of our normal streams this time for a Virgin Galactic launch, wherein we had takeoff and we didn't have drop, and then we had landing. Things that we normally we're not able to cover, we were able to cover, and then the thing we were able to normally cover, we weren't. No, okay, I'm over caffeinated. I'll shut up now.
I love how it says plane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
It's like 60% sure that that's a plane.
And there are the cars going out to it.
Yep.
To be fair, there was some discussion earlier in the stream if it's a plane. So I'm only about 60-70% sure it's a plane as well. So I think I'm right with you there, AutoTrack.
I thought it was really cool that it did. The interesting thing is when the spaceship was still attached to the mothership, it was detecting it as multiple planes. And it's like, wait a second, there's not supposed to be planes on top of planes. But it was sort of jumping back and forth between, is that one plane or two planes? So it was having a little trouble just because it wasn't trained on that. But now
I don't even think that's trouble. Like it's failing correctly. It is two planes. It's two vehicles.
It's failing upwards.
It couldn't figure out exactly which one to aim at, so it was sort of going back and forth, like juddering back and forth a little bit, because it tries to center on the middle of the plane that it's tracking. So the track when it flew over, that was a manual track with the Xbox controller. It did not recognize it as a plane then. And then when it's come back down and it's landed on the runway here, I thought it was interesting. Even through the fence, every now and then it's picking up that is a plane. The more cars that get around it, the less sure it is that it's a plane and not a transformer where somebody's about to form the head.
I mean, to be fair with AutoTrack here, it is a hard job to identify this as a plane. It did well.
I'm sure that fence is doing it no favors that's in front of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been amazed
back to the zoomed-in shot here.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to point out it's amazing that was in space just a few minutes ago, and there's already people walking around the vehicle, just taking what looks like pedestrian cars out to check on the vehicle and get the crew to egress hopefully soon.
Well, actually, Forger was saying in the chat, Sawyer, that this is something that is kind of time sensitive, because even though, as we actually learned before, the mothership has enough fuel to be able to ferry the unladen spacecraft to Hawaii, right? Because it's carrying a fully fueled spacecraft, the fuel economy goes way down. They actually have to get off the runway sooner rather than later for the mothership to actually come back down and land.
That is true. The mothership is still circling around right now. It is still flying.
For real, it's pretty nifty that we've got Forger in chat, like, and providing us some information. Thank you for doing that, Forger. And if you haven't read Test Gods, holy cow, read Test Gods. It's an insane book.
All right.
It looks like they drew a duck. It looks like with the eye at the top, but like could be a duck.
I call it Mr. Quackers.
Yeah, right now it's doing the smaller racetrack pattern, the same kind of holding pattern that you might have at while waiting to land at a regular airport, just a lot higher.
So it simply can't carry less than 1/2 fuel load because they are gross weight limited with a powered spaceship attached. Yeah, solid rocket boosters tend to be a little bit on the high mass side there. Thank you for the insight, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Somebody in chat after seeing that the flight path was like, oh my god, they killed Clippy.
Oh no.
By the way, I do just want to point out, again, we were talking about, Fierce talking about Forge, that is, Forger Stuckey has flown previously on VSS Unity during one of the Virgin Galactic test flights, so he is a basically a commercial astronaut as well. So he's got great experience with this. And so we really, really appreciate his insights.
Yeah, and to be clear, he's no longer with Virgin. I think he's over at Blue Origin now. I could be wrong, but either way, to have someone in.
Sounds like we.
Did I just get cut off? My mom called me. Hi, Mom.
Yes, you did get cut off.
Yes, you did.
What was the last thing you heard?
It was probably about halfway through that statement, man. Something like that.
Okay. Either way, thanks to Forger for being in chat. Not official Virgin, but either way, it's cool to have someone who's flown the vehicle to be able to provide us some insights in YouTube chat. Just the glory of YouTube.
And your YouTube chat, the YouTube chat now says hi to your mom.
Yeah, she knows I'm streaming. Mom, what are you doing? I love you. Don't call me in the stream.
Oh, I love the internet. Right. It's like back in the day. I'm probably gonna date myself here. It's like back in the day when you're trying to play a video game and somebody makes a phone call. Not now, Mom.
Right.
trying to play Counter-Strike.
You need to stop playing EverQuest. I have an important phone call. Oh, middle school.
Oh dear.
Middle school? I won't go on here.
Hey.
Yes, Adrian, I'm old.
Well, in the meantime, while we're waiting for the crew to egress, while we have this gorgeous shot still, we had a little backup here of our super chats because we had the actual flight itself. So I still want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone and thank them for their support. David Lebed, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. 76794P, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Shaolin, thank you again for more support there. Oliver Giles, ship go zoom. Thankfully it did, and did so safely. Goat Pilot 04, thank you for the support. I'll hold on to that question in regards to its comparison to something like the X-15. We'll keep that for later. Gratitude Plan, thank you for becoming a Padrat member. Jim Cavett, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Patricia, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Shaolin, thank you for more support again. And JK Video saying, thanks guys. Thank you for watching. And then Jan, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, with some support as well, wondering how this will affect the growing, how will a growing fleet affect airspace? And it's interesting, the FAA recently just worked on a deal over on the East Coast around Florida to narrow the area that they have that's restricted for flying, the NOTAMs, the Notice to Air Missions, formerly Notice to Airmen, to try and avoid those issues of commercial flights flying over and potentially scrubbing a launch. All right.
We cannot hear you right now.
Arigato, Jacko Roboto.
Jack needs to recharge. Needs to recharge his batteries like I did. So, actually, Forger in chat again, I don't mean to keep going to, but the insight is fantastic. He said they were removing a pitot tube to put the tow bar on the spacecraft so they can pull it off the runway.
Yeah, pitot tube, that's, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, now we gotcha.
Okay, cool. Pitot tube is like it measures airspeed, and it's used to give data to the pilot's controls. If you're wondering what a pitot tube is.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if this is actually if it's a developmental piece of equipment, because oftentimes during test flights you're going to carry two fold sensors. There's a developmental sensor and there's an operational sensor. So the developmental sensor is there to basically make sure that the operational sensor works correctly. For instance, on like the Artemis 1 mission for NASA, they had a ton of extra sensors on that vehicle to make sure that they were getting fed good data. And that's actually one of the reasons why they scrubbed an attempt, because one of the DFI sensors on SLS engine 3, I think it was not cooperating correctly.
Don't remind me.
It was engine 3, yes.
If you are familiar with our Stratolaunch streams, Stratolaunch on its crewed cockpit, because one of the cockpits is not crewed. On the crewed cockpit, I believe, is a large air data boom. Similar kind of deal. You want that extra instrumentation, so your like you said, EJ, your actual sensors are correct and accurate, and just get all the extra fancy data, because as everybody here who watches our streams knows, more data, more better.
Hey, real quick, y'all got me now?
Yes,
we do.
I did put a link to Test Gods, that book, into chat, and I'll put it a couple more times. Seriously, if you like behind the scenes stories about serious business, right? You should click the link, go check out Test Gods. It's well worth it. They have it on like audiobook, like every different way that you can get a book. But I put that link in chat, and if you click on that, it'll take you over to a place where you can pick your experience, which way you want to check it out. But I really highly recommend checking out that book if you're interested in like the behind the scenes of serious test flight business.
Yeah, the
lots of serious things.
The reporter who wrote that was like embedded with Virgin for quite a long time. So the insights there are truly exceptional. Really great book. Can't underscore that enough. Definitely check it out. And it just gives you so much insight into what it's like to fly this vehicle, what the process has been like to get to this point. Really astounding piece of work.
Exactly.
So, once again, getting some insight here on that flight test boom that they're currently removing. The flight test boom is there to give them data actually in front of the bow wave of the vehicle, which is actually super interesting if you're an aerodynamics nerd. All right, there might be some nerd stuff coming at you here, chat. So, a spacecraft... Yeah, I know. Believe it or not, spacecraft and planes, for that matter, it kind of depends on how fast you're going. This is for mostly supersonics and hypersonics. But when you're basically going fast, you do leave a little bit of a wake, an aerodynamic wake. That sensor is out in front of the aerodynamic wake, because if you had a sensor that was behind the think kind of like a boat wake, it's a little bit different than that because one's water and the other one's air, right? But they're trying to get information on the airspeed in front of the bow wave, which is actually that's really good. That would give you some really good test data as to how the vehicle's actually flying.
I'm gonna throw Patrick a curveball here. Patrick, if you can find the T-38 shots that Ames released, it's like the crazy Schlieren T-38, like from top down, and you can see the shockwave, you can see the bow shock. That's a really cool shot if we could get that on stream, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm throwing Patrick a curveball here.
I mean, yeah. I'd like to point out that the wake that it leaves doesn't look like the wake of a vessel, like a seagoing vessel. It's a lot straighter, but it does leave a little bit of a wake. And basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get sensors out in front of that wake so they can see basically what type of air the vehicle's flying through. Like, I know what type of air. It's mostly nitrogen and oxygen. It's mostly has to do with the airspeed moving in front of the bow wave, which is super interesting. Once again, Forger, thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate it. And
the insight is amazing.
Yeah, he's actually saying that eventually, based off of that data, they should be able to calibrate the fuselage-mounted sensors sufficiently throughout the envelope and then remove the flight test boom. White Knight 2 finally got rid of hers. Oh, this is excellent. This is excellent. Thank you so much.
It reminds me a little bit of how they had the boom at the end of Enterprise during the initial shuttle test flights that they were doing.
Same idea. Yep, absolutely.
Which, if you noticed, every other vehicle after that didn't have that. Columbia did have its Silts pod, but that was more an experiment that they kind of couldn't remove once they installed it. But otherwise, yeah, it's part of that testing. And go ahead.
Is there any cooler job or thing than test piloting? Like, just being on the ragged edge of human knowledge and skill. It's in technology. Like, test pilots, so cool. I don't know. I'm nerding out here. Sorry.
I guess space test pilot.
Even cooler.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, there's the steering images.
There's that image we were talking about.
There's the wake. They're trying to get sensors out in front. The developmental sensors out in front of that wake so they can configure the actual sensors, the operational sensors on the vehicle, they can calibrate them correctly so basically the telemetry on the vehicle and the pilot heads-up display, amongst other things, probably want that to read correctly, is giving them the right information. That's really, really cool.
That is great insight there. That is a cool picture, too.
And I hate to bring up the simulator again. No, I don't, because it was so cool. But the avionics and the displays that are available to the pilot and co-pilot is just absolutely astounding. That was unfortunately not something we could film. However, seeing it with my own eyes is just like wow. The ability of them to get all of the data that they need at a glance, or switch from different views is really awesome. And
To interrupt you really quick, the vehicle looks like it's finally moving and being towed.
Yep. They have that means they have the flight test boom off and the tow bar has been installed. And they will now pull that off of the runway there. There we go. A little bit of a hiccup there.
That'll also allow, once it clears the runway, for the mothership to come back and land.
Yep.
But yeah, and again, we're talking about the pitot tube type thing. Pitot tubes are also on regular commercial aircraft. Obviously, this one, though, gathers a lot more data than you would get from a traditional one on board 737, for example.
Yep. I mean, that in a 737 doesn't break the sound barrier. If it does, you got other problems to worry about. When you're dealing with laminar airflow at subsonic, you don't have as much of a wake. So the pitot sensor just being attached to the side is good enough for the instrumentation. Well, not good enough. It's accurate for the instrumentation. For this thing that's going Mach 3, it's very different flight regime there. Air does weird things when you break the speed of sound.
That is true.
Especially Mach 3 and above. Like
Yep.
you're getting into some very, very interesting territory aerodynamically.
Luckily, White Knight 2 can essentially be at idle since the SpaceShipTwo drop. Altitude is the best insurance right there. There you go. That's cool.
Yeah, another fun fact, if I may. Hopefully, I'm not being annoying here.
No,
when you see the drop, it looks like the Unity is like falling away from the mothership rapidly. However, it's actually the opposite. Unity, or Eve, the mothership, is moving away from Unity. Unity is kind of in like a level pitch, whereas White Knight has lost so much weight, and it is essentially a glider with engines that it is able to just pull up and out of the way. So pretty nifty.
I mean, that actually reminds me a lot of the approach and landing tests with the, you guessed it, shuttle program. Oh no, here we go.
Another bingo.
So basically what they did, because I mean, this drops from the bottom, right? The mothership is dropping the spaceship out the bottom with the approach and landing test with the 747, so 905 and Enterprise. They actually did the opposite of this. They had to stall the 747 to get the shuttle to fly away because the shuttle doesn't fly very well. The only way to get them to separate correctly without hitting the rudder and vertical stabilizer on the 747 was to essentially stall the airplane and have it fall away from the space shuttle. Similar idea. Really, really cool.
I love the old approach landing test, just saying.
Oh yeah, they're great. I actually learned that bit of information from Fred Hayes. I asked him about it, and I was like, "How did the shuttle get away from it?" He goes, "No, it didn't."
It looks like the crew might be coming in shortly.
There we go. Yeah, he said, "No, the shuttle doesn't pull away. It doesn't fly very well. The 747 pulls away from the shuttle." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes more sense."
That's quite a flex, EJ.
I mean, yeah, no, sorry. I mean, hey, I'm just conveying the information, man. That's all.
No, it's pretty cool. And if you haven't seen that footage of those tests, it's just astounding. Like if I had a time machine and I could go back to Edwards at any point, that would definitely be one of my stops, is to see those tests occur over the desert in California. Because I mean, absolutely magnificent stuff.
By the way, love seeing the crew so excited coming back down. You saw a bunch of high fives, some bumps, some hugs, and now you see them in front of the media, and hopefully soon getting to reunite with their families as well, because you can see some of that actually happening.
Pilot's taking pictures for the gram right there. You see that? There we go, for the gram.
Yeah, it looks like they are reuniting with their families as well too.
Pardon the PA system speakers there. I was set up to track the flight, not to track the entrance where they walk in and out.
Oh no, that's fine. We've got the view. That's what matters.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as I left to try and get a better view of drop, I can't get back. So this is the view you have.
Again, that the three main people there were from the Italian, the Italian Air Force. So that was astronauts 8, 9, and 10 that have now flown into space with Virgin Galactic.
Excellent. What a great mission this was. This is fantastic.
Right? I just want to see him go again and again and again. Like, the hangar there at Spaceport America is designed to be able to hold 2 motherships. They only have the one right now, but it's like, come on, Virgin. I think we all want to see them start flying more often and start expanding their customer base and just succeeding. And, hopefully they get a second mothership at some point and they get more spacecraft and we can just see these things go off nonstop and Virgin can start fulfilling its backlog. And, oh man, I want to fly on this thing so bad. So I hope for nothing more than wild success on Virgin's part.
Absolutely. We always wish success for every space agency, every space group, every space company. But this is exciting. Again, that's their first commercial flight. Do want to thank a few more people here really quickly. Dan Sorkin, echoing your sentiment, saying, a great day for access to spaceflight. Thanks to Virgin Galactic and to NSF. Some additional support. I apologize. I can't pronounce the name on that one. And lastly, Doc Watson saying, will Adrian watch The Fifth Element before the next Starship launch?
He's watched it.
Yeah, Jack,
okay.
be my witness. I have watched The Fifth Element, and it was actually a good movie. I enjoyed it.
I had to force you to not have your phone in your hand. Like every 5 minutes, I was like, put your phone down! I was that jerk who practically ruined the movie doing that. However, I'm glad you liked it. Now we got to figure out what the next movie is.
I think it took me like 6 times to say that I liked it before Jack believed it, because he was always like, you sound so lying.
Oh boy. I'm trying to come up with a good pun for something with that, but I
got a reference.
Just get more references.
I mean, flying the spacecraft's just like driving a cab.
Nice.
There you go.
See? There we go.
I was going to do a Ruby Rod impression, but I'll spare you all that.
Oh man! And again,
Jack.
the mothership continuing to work its way down to land soon. TM back at Spaceport America there in New Mexico.
Jack, I didn't come here to play Pumbaa on the cast, so tomorrow on the next cast, you're going to give yourself a hand. You green?
Super green.
Oh my gosh!
I feel like we could just put you both in a box for like 2 hours, and this would just go on.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm loving this. EJ,
yeah,
I'm so glad you're in on the streams. This
Dude, I got
great.
you. I got you. Good.
Anyway, EJ, I think it's time we put a bow on this stream and.
Okay. All right, time to wrap it up, guys. Well, I hope everybody here enjoyed the Virgin Galactic 01 mission. I mean, we didn't get the best shots because of the high cloud cover today, but we still saw a pretty good mission there. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a good day for commercial spaceflight. So I'm gonna send us off here today on the comms. What's up?
You said we didn't get the best views. We had some onboard views from inside and outside of the VSS Unity.
That's Virgin Galactic. That's not us. Technicalities, my friend.
On our stream, sir.
We still had them. I would allow that we had them.
All right,
Exactly.
That's fair. I'll concede that one.
He's technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Best kind of correct.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just a game of quotes at this point.
Yep. All right. So, okay, we got good views from Virgin Galactic, but our tracking cameras did not get the best ones. But yeah, this was fun. This was fun. So I say wrap it up, go around the horn. Everybody sign out. Is that fair, gentlemen?
Indeed.
Sounds perfect to me.
All right. So Sawyer, I was the last to introduce you, so you're the first one out. So
First one out. You're kicking me out already.
Yeah.
No, this was a great stream. So glad for the insight that we also got from Jack and Das out in the field. And the unity among this team as we saw Unity fly. Oh man, I love it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was definitely galactic.
This stream was a galactic leap forward.
See that? That's why I signed you out first. You see that? Right there. That.
So he can't do it anymore.
Oh, come on. My puns there are tracking pretty good, even if we didn't get the tracking camera.
Nope, you're signed off. You can't talk anymore.
Okay. Shh. All right. So out in the field.
We love you, Sawyer.
All right, that's
Love you,
token,
man.
I know.
So out in the field, we had the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. John Galloway. Das, thank you for going out there and setting this up, coming right from Texas, from what I understand, right to this, and just pedal to the floor, man. Thank you.
Hey, it's true. We got out here and we got all of our stuff set up. All of our technology was working correctly. And massive thanks again to Virgin Galactic for giving us those feeds. Also sent in with some of our technology. So the technology worked great. The weather, not so much. But my weather control system is not ready yet. That hopefully is ready for the next Starship flight.
Please.
Thanks, EJ.
I mean, are you going to have an RS-25 test stand? That makes weather.
There you go.
Just got to make that. That's fine. So, yeah, Chemist, I was kind of putting 2 to 2 together there. You haven't been home in a little while, Daz. That's okay.
Is my wife in chat? Am I in trouble?
Oh yeah, you should probably go. You should probably go.
All right, I'm packing up now.
Run. Also out in the field is the awesome movie reference extraordinaire, Mr. Jack Byer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we're able to do this because people like what we do and like our commentary and support our channel by buying merch or hitting the like button. It doesn't even have to be a monetary thing, but just thank you so much to everybody for letting us do what we do. This is the first time for a Virgin Galactic flight that we've been able to have 2 people out here. So, of course, thanks to Das for sacrificing his time and driving in nonstop. Because we were just here. Well, I've been here the whole time, but you were here. We were here for the Spaceport America Cup last week for several days, sweltering in the sun and watching so many cool rockets fly. But yeah, now you're back, and thank goodness, because that was really cool to be able to have some like a double team thing going on here, and we can only do that because of y'all's support. So whatever it is, even if it's just hitting the like button, thank you so much, everybody. We have the best job, despite me yelling at clouds and being grumpy. Thank you, everyone. Like, what a great day, and I can't wait to the next one.
Wait, Jack, you said you were old and you were also yelling at clouds. So are you an old man yelling at clouds now, or?
Check my Twitter. already made the joke.
All right, cool, excellent. And then last but certainly not least, the master of rocket metrics and timing, Mr. Adrian Bell.
Thanks for having me. And it's always the worst to be the last one that gets outroed because everybody already said everything you want to say. So I'm just going to say thanks everyone for watching and thanks for having me.
All right. And I am the host of today's stream, Mr. EJ. I stream on Twitch. I play Kerbal, and I'm just a huge nerd. And I'd like to give a special personal thank to Forger in the chat, giving me some insight as to the inner workings of this vehicle. It really helped with the commentary because we don't get a lot of bits and pieces from Virgin Galactic except the awesome feeds that we got today, right? So it's really cool and interesting to hear that technical insight. So thank you, sir. I do appreciate it. All right, we're gonna put a bow on it, as Sawyer said. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And have a good rest of your day.